Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Doing the job the American media maggots won't. Fundamentally changing America, one diaper at a time. Here is, courtesy of the SHR Media Network, the Bloviating Zeppelin.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media Studios. I'm sorry, the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Studios, resplendent in their resplendentosity-isness, as I am wont to say, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, spelled with a K, 2 miles east of the veritable locus of evil on the entire left coast. That would be the Capitol building in Sacramento, California, spelled with a K, at 10th and L Street, where at night you can hear the death of common sense and smell the noxious vapors of sulfur and brimstone. You got a belly up to the bar, we've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Tonight is the 1st of August, the year of our Lord 2019. Blaine is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is in fact lighted to my left, to your right. As you can see, if you look, it's been changed. It's over there now. To, well, that's my left, your right. Or is that my left, your right? Interesting. Got to tell you this, though. We don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred, the speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, in the first hour, we have a very special, unique Unique guest for the very first time ever in the saloon. It's Ann Ubellis from Southern Sense Talk, and she is a radio host on the SHR Media Network. We're going to talk to her for the very first time. Some things have changed since the SHR Media Network began, and she began with it. Some things have amped up in the studio. We've actually acquired a way in which we can speak to each other like normal human beings. It's this really strange and unique device called a telephone. And up to the point where the fat rotund one got here, there really wasn't a way to talk to people over the teleolaphone. And now, courtesy of the miracle of modern science and a couple of dollars rubbed together, and a scratcher or two. I did not win the lottery, however. I now have Ann Ubellis from Southern Sense Talk on the air with me. She will be here for the first hour. So, Ann, welcome, and how do you do, madam?
Oh, what's up, peeps?
What is up with y'all? I bet one of the first things you were thinking, I'm sure, is, let's see, BZ's had a show for just over 2 years. I wonder when that guy's going to get me on his show. And I finally realized that last week, which is when I contacted you, and I said, wow, this is an oversight that I need to clear up ASAP. So, Ann, thank you very, very kindly for being here tonight. I appreciate that. For the very first time.
Oh, it is my pleasure.
And I also must say thank you because you are 95% of my guests are from the East Coast. I don't know how that works out. It just does. So thank
We're
you.
just smarter here.
Maybe that's it. Maybe there's more people. But it's like 8:05 on the left coast, which means it's 11:05 on the right coast. So thank you very, very much for staying up so late. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, at least I get to enjoy my cocktail hour.
Ooh, very nice, very nice. Problem with me is I guess I could drink. There's actually a bed in here and a sofa. But the problem is it's a studio. It's not my basement like a lot of people seem to think, or, a bedroom or something like that. So when I get through at night, I actually have to drive home. So otherwise, tippling wouldn't be a terribly bad idea. But luckily for you, you are at home. And I say to you, straight ahead and straight on till morning, if that's what you need to do. So seriously, though, thank you for being here tonight. I have been remiss in not having you on before. So I extend, as they said in Clockwork Orange, I extend Appy Polylogis to you.
Well, I'm just the redheaded stepchild over at SHR. That's okay.
Right. The redheaded stepchild that... Oh, well. Okay, let's stop here for a second. This is what I always make sure that I want to do. We're going to talk about your show in just a second, but before we get there, tell people where you can be found on social media and also on your various websites.
Well, it's very simple. It's a one-stop shop. They just go to the name of the show, put a dash in the middle, southern-sense.com, and they can reach me anywhere and everywhere on just that one site.
Very nice. Would it shock you if I were to tell you that I'm on that site right now? And if you go to southern-sense.com, I'm looking at the top. It says Home, Archives. So, hey, you can find some of her past shows here. Go to the blog. There's blog contact if you want to get in contact with Ann. About Me gives you a little bit of a background. Relief, Help, YouTube, Facebook, and you can be found all over the place. So, folks, Ann she has a show that you need to listen to, and tell us where and when your show can be found.
Well, I had been doing it 2 days a week, but I consolidated to just one day. Instead of breaking up in 2 hours here, 2 hours there, I'm doing a full solid 3 hours on a Friday so I can do a weekly roundup. And usually the biggest news, breaks open on a Friday afternoon so I can hit it and do a roundup at the same time. So, you find me Fridays from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you also go to our website, you can also find the player for Spreaker as well as a chat room for SHR Media. So they can actually listen to SHR Media and be in the chat at the same time.
Yes, that is what is highly recommended here. Now, probably like me, you're over an absolute assload of platforms all over the place. And I've found, I don't know about you, but I've found my show where I didn't put it there, but somehow I was on Google Play, I was on Periscope, I'm actually on iHeartRadio, I'm on Apple, and I gotta tell you, I never put myself there. Somehow they magically appear and show up, so I bet that if I'm there, I bet people can find you there as well.
Oh, absolutely, and I definitely know I'm up on iHeart because they sent me a message saying that I was approved for that, so I'm officially up there by my request. I did find myself at a number of other platforms. Some of them were definitely not authorized, and since I am copyright, I sent them a cease and desist in some of the platforms. But others, when I looked at them, I said, hey, listen, no harm, no foul. I let it go. But others where they were just trying to make money off of me, that wasn't too cool, and just that didn't work out too well.
For them.
Yeah, right.
I want to get, I want folks to get a sense tonight of, because it's the first time you've been here, I want folks to get a sense of who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it. So your show is called Southern Sense, conservative talk at its best, and we already know that you can find it on Fridays for 3 hours. That's a big chunk of time, I should tell you. from 3
Yep.
p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern, which is noon to 3 p.m. on the Pacific. And in Bolivia, it's 1769.725, subsector 3, subparagraph 4, because Bolivian time is just weird. It just is that way. I don't know why it is. It just is. But how long have you had your show going now, Ann?
Wow. I believe it's 9 and going on 10 years.
Oh!
I believe I'm entering my 10th. It started off as a lark, my husband and I, and people don't believe me, and the first show has been deleted because it was a show based on flatulence.
That sounds like an SHR show with Sean and Clint. I can't imagine why you
But,
did that.
As we just did it, we were joking around, but people would start to call in, and they would ask serious questions. And the more we did it, the more we found an environment back then, almost 10 years ago, of people hungering for conservative talk. So, fortunately, I got in at a time where people wanted to hear this. They just weren't getting it. It was, as you see, it was being censored all over the place. And just being able to get some good common sense and people talking about issues that were important, not talking heads giving you the same pablum every 15 minutes.
Give folks a sense, if you would, of, we know you've been on now for almost for a decade, and clearly in that amount of time your show has expanded, kind of like Borborygmus or gas, I suppose. But your show has expanded now to the point where, if I'm not mistaken, it says Top Talk Radio. You have also gotten some awards and notations for the people. Well, also give us a sense of some of the folks that you've had on your show. You have had some awesome people on your show.
Oh, man. It's too many to remember sometimes. It's like I said, it started off small. We started off half an hour, expanded to an hour, 2 hours, now a full 3 hours on each episode. We really are eclectic. We range from anything from musicians to authors to actors, producers, singers, politicians, talking heads, editorialists, authors. I mean, you name it, we've had it. We've had veterans issues. We've had law enforcement issues. We've been all over the place. We've addressed autism, drug addiction. We don't stop. We're not just a one-subject shop. If it's out there and we feel it's of interest, we'll touch upon it.
Okay. Originally, you say you did the first show as a semi-comedic effect. Was there a particular reason that you created it, or did you? It just sounded interesting, and then for whatever reason, it took off.
Honestly, if you want to know the backstory,
sure, please.
We had just renovated our hall bathroom, our guest bathroom, and we were putting some books into it, and we had actually a party. And it's one of those parties where you invite 10 or 12 people, and you end up getting 65. True story. We counted heads at the end of the night.
Wow.
Traipsing through our house. And it was for a NASCAR race party, and some people had black flagged the bathroom. And if anyone knows what I'm talking about, it's like someone bring out the matches and the Febreze.
Don't go.
Quick. So the joke went about, flatulence, and it just built up from there with doing the show. And it just, what happened in life got carried over.
Let's go into your background a little bit. Where were you born and raised? Now, you're in what state now?
I was born in the backwoods in a little shack.
Okay. You were born a poor black child, like Steve Martin said.
Yeah. No, I'm a native New Yorker. I was born out in Long Island. I owned businesses out there. I went to school and college there. I ended up working for some pretty large companies. I owned my own business first, sold that, went to work for American Express. We also managed a mid-sized law firm in New York. When my now ex-husband moved, because he was in the Marine Corps, up to Massachusetts, I followed up and moved with American Express there. And one day I threw my arms up in the air and I says, I am tired of the corporate world. There's got to be more to my life than just this. I want to do something that means something. And I had applied to NYPD, and they accepted me. And over a 4th of July weekend, I packed up my desk. I came back to New York, and I said, bye-bye. And that was it.
Looking back and looking at your background, that was 1986, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was.
And you were an NYPD officer for a decade, were you not?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
And when you
Absolutely.
were working for NYPD, you were mostly uniformed?
Oh, I was uniformed the entire time.
Okay. And
My last 2.5 years after I was injured, I was desk bound, but the rest of the time I was a street cop.
and after 10 years in New York, did you simply have an epiphany one day and say, I think it's time to move on?
No, actually, no. We had stayed up in New York for a couple of years. My husband opened up another business. I encouraged him, and I worked with him on that. And we were doing fine. But just when you're injured and after a while you develop arthritis, that weather is not conducive, plus the taxes, the regulations,
Oh, yeah.
and the influx of liberals and everything else. It was just time to move. And we did our research. We looked for areas that would be more favorable climate-wise, political-wise, economically-wise, and we settled down here in South Carolina.
As you already know, people who are in emergency services, if they serve long enough, they're going to get injured. I don't think there's any firefighter extant who hasn't been injured. I'll dare say that it's true for law enforcement. I was in law enforcement for 41 years, and I retired in 2016. 41 years was enough for me. I didn't serve in the military, so I served in a civilian capacity. However, in the 10 years that you experienced NYPD, my guess would be you probably saw a lot of stuff, because in the night, let's see, let me go back, and God, I should have researched this, but I didn't. In 1986 and in the early years, who was New York's mayor, do you recall?
Should I say it the way I normally say it, or should I say it the correct
No.
political way?
Say it the way you like to say it.
His name, as it was known, was Mayor Dickless, or as people know, Mayor Dinkins.
Ah, okay. And how wonderful were things for the NYPD under the wonderful leftist Mayor Dinkins?
It was not as bad as de Blasio, that is for sure. At that time, the police commissioner, we called him Out-of-Town Brown. He showed up at Madison Square Garden for our graduation, a graduating class of approximately, I think it was 2,100 at Madison Square Garden, and he was drunk. He delivered his speech.
Great.
Drunk.
Great.
You got a class of cadets graduating from the police academy, and the police commissioner shows up drunk. Good example, guys. This
Yeah.
goes to show you the administration in New York at the time. But I would say, hands down, it was nowhere near as bad as de Blasio. I'm looking at what's going on in the streets now, and I have to admit that they would not have tolerated what was going on now.
It's funny you should mention that, because I have an audio cut that I'd like to play. But another thing that you and I both know, and especially in terms of the time in which you served from 86 to 96, those were the years of those were the formative years, I should say, of gangs all throughout the United States. They were the early years of gangs really getting themselves together, organizing, getting into numerous criminal activities. And those were also the times, folks, that you need to realize under which Ann and I operated. Those were the times of the highest amount of gun crime in the United States. So when you hear leftists, the Democrats, or the American media maggots attempt to pull the wool over your eyes and tell you that gun crime is at its worst today, you need to take a big cup of I don't believe anything that they're saying and recall that that is absolutely false, because you combated it on the street. I combated it on the street. When I was in detectives in the 90s, that's how I got into robbery. I knew all the guys that needed to be known for robbery, and that's also how I got into homicide, because the same people that were my robbery suspects, gang members, were also my homicide suspects. Funny how that works out.
Well, you know the saying that if they start off with a small petty crime and then they graduate, and in the end you will end up with a major felony when you finally lock them up the last time, whether it's assault, a robbery, or a homicide. Once they started committing a crime, they will be a recidivist. Very rarely do they see you come in just once and never come back. I mean, I can think of several individuals I arrested only once, and we cured them, and yet there were others you just knew it was a simple revolving door.
Well, it was, and also the 80-20 rule prevailed during that time. 20% of the people are committing 80% of the crimes.
Yep.
True then, true now. I want to play an audio cut for you, Annubellis. I'm speaking to Annubellis from Southern Sense Talk. She broadcasts on Fridays, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on the SHR Media Network. Something has been occurring in New York City recently. I want to play this audio cut, and then in the midst of it, and certainly at the end, I want to get your take on what's going right now.
All right, as we have been reporting on this show, disturbing new trend emerging where people are dousing New York City police officers with water. Tonight, another disgusting, despicable video has emerged. Meanwhile, Mayor Bill de Blasio, he was in Detroit tonight debating on the Democratic stage. By the way, he says he may come on this show, and I hope he does.
Yeah.
Members of the NYPD are showing up up to show the country how they feel about their mayor, his betrayal of the force. Lawrence Jones, he's at the scene asking cops what they think about the mayor of New York's run for higher office and their feelings about these outrageous videos that keep surfacing. Let's take a look.
Bill de Blasio can't run the city, you can't run the country. Can't run the city, you can't run the country.
Mayor de Blasio is a candidate for president right now. Is he qualified to run for president right now when he can't take care of his own city?
Absolutely not. Mayor de Blasio is campaigning across this country, claiming working people first. That's a lie.
He should finish the job he ran for. He promised the people of the city of New York he would take care of their problems, and instead he's decided to take this run and start running for president when he's left so much to do in New York City.
Tell me about the recent videos of New York City cops being targeted with water, being harassed, assaulted.
The disorder in the streets, the disrespect for police officers comes straight to our policymakers, including Mayor de Blasio. The anti-police rhetoric.
People think it's some sort of game to attack our police officers, to throw water on it.
And
What's
video
next?
it.
Yeah, and videotape it. I mean, it's disgusting.
Joining us now.
Okay, enough of that. And what's your take on this? Because I know what mine is.
Oh, God bless my fellow cops out there. I can guarantee every single person that Lawrence had interviewed had to have been an NYPD cop.
Oh, hell yeah.
And
oh,
I
yeah.
got to say, the PBA president out of NYPD, Patty Lynch, happens to be a friend of mine. I went to the same, I worked in the same command. He was in my squad. I know him. He is doing one hellacious job, and he's been one heck of a thorn in the side of de Blasio, and Patty, keep up the good work. But you know what really gets me is people say, oh, they're only being hit with water.
Oh.
Number one, how do you know it's only water in there? How do you know it's not ammonia or acid or something else that's in there, some caustic thing? And how do you know it wouldn't accelerate into something such as that, or even a flammable liquid that could be lit and send the cop on fire? An assault is an assault is an assault. That cop is doing his or her job. You're hitting with something that's going to blind him in the eyes and then cause them to be either killed or someone else to be injured. It is an assault. You're interfering with an arrest. You're interfering with their ability to do their job. And why the first person that hit him with the bucket wasn't arrested and put in handcuffs, I don't know. But I got to hand it to the cops that held their temper and walked away, because they know when I was a cop and I started out, there wasn't a camera on every corner. Everyone didn't have a camera in their cell phone. Matter of fact, a lot of people didn't even have cell phones. In today's day and age with the social network, it's a whole nother world. And these poor guys and gals are working under such a tremendous handicap. I don't know if I could do the job today, honestly. I really don't.
I retired in 2016. I think Ferguson, if I'm not mistaken, was 2015. The Baltimore riots were in 2015. 2015 was kind of a significant year for law enforcement. And the officers who should have been put away and were found guilty of murder, for example, proved to me the system works. I can tell you, in my opinion, there's only one reason why these NYPD officers that you've seen in the videos did not react when they were assaulted. And just as you say, you have no idea what's in those buckets. You have no idea what's in those plastic squirt guns. Clear liquids include, Clorox, acetone, thinner, petroleum, any number of potential caustic chemicals, and I'm actually a little bit surprised that no one yet has escalated up to that point. However, if nothing is done and arrests made after the fact, to me, don't do much. I can tell you with great efficacy that had that happened to me then in the 80s, the people that had done that would be eating dirt, and they would be doing so immediately, cameras or no, because once you lose control of the streets, then you've lost control of various communities. I have another article coming about that as well. And my guess would be you would have done the exact same thing. You must react immediately. In many cases, people are just like animals. They act like animals, and sometimes they need to be treated like animals. And what I mean by that is there needs to be an immediate reaction because they don't remember and it doesn't seem to stick until those things occur immediately. With every action, there should be an immediate reaction. But the reason I believe, and I want your opinion on this, Ann Ubellis, is that these officers clearly feel that some place up their administrative chain, someone or a massive series of someones don't have their backs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It has been that way for a long time, but as the city becomes more and more progressive, it gets worse because now you've got bosses in there. A lot of them use some sort of a hook up. So someone up above pulls them up by their bootstraps, probably in a position they don't deserve and should never have earned. And these bosses are doing a massive amount of CYA. And it's not cover your assets I'm talking about.
No.
And I saw it. We had a sick out at one point in time. And I happened to have been one of those days. I was one of the ones I could not do the sick out. It's like they said, no matter what, if I were to call in sick, I would have been written up. And I show up, and they say, well, you're going to write tickets. And they wanted me to write tickets on certain cars that were parked by cops. And, of course, I've got two bosses, one on either side, to make sure I write the tickets.
Right.
And I say, all right, fine. And at the side of the ticket, I wrote that I was under the direct instruction of Lieutenant so-and-so and Lieutenant so-and-so to write this ticket. So, of course, you know what happens. The cops go to court and the tickets get tossed out. But, you know, there are ways cops can act and still cover themselves and protect themselves, but then there are times where you have no choice. A boss is telling you to do what you do, and it's your pension on the line. And what do?
Yes.
You throw away the amount of years you invested, walk away with absolutely nothing to show for it, and have to start all over again? Or you buck it up for a couple of hours and hope that this administration leaves and finally someone comes in and lets you do your job. What do? You wait it out or you walk away? That's the question.
It is the question. We've got 2 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. And we're talking to Ann Ubellis from Southern Sense Talk. And she can be heard every Friday, 3 to 6 p.m., right here on SHR Media at shrmedia.com. But we know that law enforcement has changed over the years. And I fully believe that this is accurate because I still speak to a lot of the cops that are on the street, and I still have some folks in the FBI and whatnot that I speak to. There is, or let me ask you, do you believe there is something called the Ferguson effect as a result of this?
Oh, it goes even further back than Ferguson. If you go back to the L.A. riots, you go back to the riots that we had with the blackout in New York City in 1977. When I got there, it was 9 years later, and those same buildings were still burned out shells. The effect, it's not just from the 90s or 80s, it goes way back.
Oh,
and
hell
it
yes.
just goes back to liberal policies. You know, there was a time that you could walk down the street as a cop, even in New York City, in Brooklyn, and you had a set, post that you would patrol every single day. You got to know the people. And yes, you developed some sort of like an Andy Griffith attitude with the people because they get to see you every day. We don't have those street cops anymore. Instead, it is reactive patrolling out there instead of proactive. And if we can get back to proactive, we're involved with the people down there on the street. We know what is going on every single day. We can be proactive and probably prevent a lot of things. But the way these administrations are, they just simply react. So we've got reactive policing instead of what we could do to help bring the community, the police, and the government together as a one unit.
Folks, we're talking to Ann Ubellis, Southern Sense, and we're going to be back right after this. I have one more article with regard to law enforcement I'd like to bring to Ann's attention, and we'll ask a couple more questions, and basically, boom, we're going to be off to the races in terms of politics because that's what Ann does, and that's what I do. So we're going to be right back, folks. Don't go away right after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
New show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. Tonight's guest is the fabulous Ann Ubellis. And thanks again, Ann, for staying up so late. I appreciate that because it is 11:36 where you are. It's only 8:36 where I am. So again, thanks for being here tonight, Ann. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for putting up my drunken ass.
You're gonna, if you like that, then you and everyone else are really gonna enjoy the hell out of this story. Because here's the headlines, and Ubellis, for you and everyone listening live, everyone in the chat room, everyone who's listening in podcast, had to tell you about this tonight. Because you're gonna, it's like, every day is Groundhog Day, and people can't remember what the hell happened the day before. I tended to call it historical Alzheimer's. But here's the strange... I read this headline and I thought, no, this has to be something from The Onion. Or... what is that other one? Babylon Bee. This can't be a true story. Until I found out it is. The headline is, City disbands police department after protests, now community upset with consequences. That deserves one of these. And AYFKM, are you kidding me? This is a real story. Residents of East Pittsburgh expressed concern about violent crime 8 months after disbanding its police department. East Pittsburgh residents gathered on Monday, this past Monday, this week, to express their concerns about the rise in violent crime, didn't see that coming, and the lack of police officers patrolling their neighborhood just 8 months after they disbanded the East Pittsburgh Police Department. The council voted to dissolve the borough's police department in the wake of officer-involved shooting deaths of Antoine Rose. And now, they're shocked. Shocked, I tell you. The crime is escalating. The question, are leftists really this stupid? And the answer clearly is, oh, hell yes. You can't write this, Ann. You can't write this stuff.
No, you can't. You can't. It is kind of not exactly along the same lines, but a little reminiscent of Camden, New Jersey. I don't know, if you remember back, I don't know, it was late 90s, somewhere around 2000. Camden, New Jersey went bankrupt. And in order to recover from the bankruptcy, the first thing they disbanded was the Camden Police Department.
Perfect.
And lo and behold, they found that didn't work out too well for them. So consequently, they had to reconstitute it and ask the feds for help first. So why am I surprised that there would be another liberal town that would pull another stunt like that?
Well, already last year, I can distinctly remember Chicago. There were elements of people in Chicago, or maybe it was even 2017. But I remember within the past 2 years, there were leftist elements in Chicago who were demanding that the Chicago Police Department be disbanded. Of all the departments to remove a law enforcement presence from a city like Chicago, these are clearly highly developed, thinking individuals who are about on their brain power is on the order of a nematode or a houseplant, one of the two, or maybe a ficus. I'm not quite sure. But there are actual people like this walking around, and folks, occasionally they vote. It's very sad.
It's scary that they vote. But then again, we have AOC elected, Ilhan Omar, Tlaib. Shall I go on the list? I mean, They make Bernie Sanders look like a kindergarten kid. Come on.
We'll get to that. A couple of breaking news stories, however. And this one was a little disappointing. Actually, a lot. And I'm in the second hour, when I open up the phone lines, folks, I'm going to go over this story. And if you guys want to weigh in, that would be fabulous, because I will make the phone lines available to you. This is a headline from today. The DOJ will not prosecute James Comey. I call him Jimmy the Leak. The DOJ has decided in its infinite wisdom that it's not going to prosecute Jimmy the Leak for leaking memos after the IG referral. Sources are saying now, these are unnamed sources, but apparently it's flowing across most all of the news organizations, so there must be a bit of credence to this. From one story I'm reading, the Justice Department decided against prosecuting former FBI Director James Comey for leaking classified information, and yes, it was classified information, following a referral from the department's Inspector General. Sources familiar with the deliberations told various news agencies. Everybody at the DOJ involved in the decision said it wasn't a close call. They all thought this could not be prosecuted. First thoughts, Ann Ubellis.
Hillary Clinton? Do I need to go beyond that?
No, you really don't. Let me throw this out here. Here's how I knew, and this is no surprise, I used to work for the FBI, and I still have people that I talk to. I do not think in my history, because I never worked for him, for one. I never worked for Hoover. People say I'm really old, okay, but dudes, I'm not that old, okay? Lighten up. But I do not believe that in my experience I have seen or heard of a more despicable individual than James Comey, who in my opinion has absolutely ruined the FBI. And I knew that James Comey was a liar, in capital letters, bold, italic, when he attempted to tell me, because he thought that I'm stupid, and Ann Ubellis, he probably thought you were stupid too, when he told us in that massive self-serving news conference that he was not going to prosecute Hillary Clinton because she did not have intent. Funny thing was, I was already familiar with those crimes. Those are crimes of general and not specific intent. So after looking at those various statutes under which she could have been prosecuted, I immediately concluded within about 5 minutes that James Comey was a liar and lied to me, lied to millions of Americans, because the two types of crimes are those of specific intent and general intent. And a crime of specific intent, I hope you're sitting down, folks. Somewhere in the various statutes it will say, with the intent to ... Now, the other odd thing is that, if you recall, Ann and other people, there was an individual who took a photograph on a submarine while working for the U.S. Navy and sent it to his girlfriend.
Yeah, he saved it for his son. I actually had that gentleman as a guest on my show.
Okay.
And that was a travesty, an absolute travesty. And when you look at what people did around him, especially Hillary Clinton, and you look at the Judicial Watch is the one that exposed James Comey and his lying. They ended up, because of their Freedom of Information Act filing, received 6 pages of documentation showing that a full month after Comey was fired, he was still maintaining classified memos in his home, which the FBI removed.
Yes.
And how this is not prosecuted. Oh, but then again, he's the one that was investigating Hillary. Mere slip of the tongue there. But why would you think that her tentacles do not reach so far as to protect the person who protected her?
The other interesting point when people tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, and I use this Submariner as an example, does anyone believe that he had the intent to smuggle information or provide it to others, specifically in terms of classified material to gain advantage or monetary? He was given some kind of quid pro quo to another agency, another organ, another organization, another country, etc. And the answer is no. And yet, oddly enough, though he did not have specific intent or the intent that he developed that's required under certain sections, he was prosecuted and went to the federal slammer.
For a full year.
For a full year. And if I'm not mistaken, Ann, he just recently got out, or he had it commuted or lifted, and it may have...
No, he was released, if I remember correctly, it was about 2 years ago he was released, and he was on my show, he and his wife. Very, very lovely people. They were trying to get a pardon done. Whether or not they succeeded, I haven't followed up, and that's my fault. But I've had so many guests over the years, I just... you lose track at times. But I do specifically remember that instance. And all he did was he wanted a picture so that when his son grew up and became a young man, he said, this is what Daddy did, this is where he worked. And by then, whatever picture he showed would have been declassified. It was on its way to being declassified anyway.
But the U.S. government decided that it was going to take its size 12 Brogan and place it on his neck and incarcerate him for at least a year. Some little teeny small guy who did not develop intent. Well, wait. Comey says Hillary Clinton didn't develop intent. So what's the difference between the two? Would that be the unequal application of federal law as opposed to small people like you and me, as opposed to the big people like James Comey, who has now apparently escaped prosecution? It sucks, it's wrong, and it's obscene.
Called deep state.
It is exactly the deep state. This is the DOJ deciding that they're going to... Comey doesn't have to take one for the team. We'll cover for him. It all falls under the purvey of the Attorney General anyway. So we'll go ahead and make that decision for James Comey. One of my immediate questions, Ann Ubellis, was, I wonder what amount Barr had in this, or if he's going for higher hanging fruit rather than lower hanging fruit.
Well, I did a little bit of an episode when Barr was being discussed. Barr does have connections to James Rosenstein. He does have connections to Robert Mueller and also through Comey. He is connected to all these individuals. I said from the start that Barr is not going to be as aggressive as we think. I think this is where we're going to see it shine through. He may be proactive in certain areas, but in this area, I think things are going to slide. If he is holding an ace up his sleeve, and I've heard from a couple of different areas that maybe they have something else on Comey and they're holding an ace in the hole to spring on him, or whether or not they're going to turn him. These are all rumors that are flying around out there. There's someone that's in the SHR chat room that said that he may have some information on that or insight into it. But I questioned Barr's credentials because of his past relations with the above-mentioned. And you got to remember Rosenstein, Eleanor, and Mueller, and go on down the whole line, that whole rotten cabal. And I still say Barr has connection to all of it, which makes me wonder if we'll ever see any true prosecutions.
It's an excellent question. It's an incestuous group. I submit, and Ann, I would solicit your opinion on this. I submit that since 2016, or perhaps even a bit longer, a soft coup was carried out against the United States of America, against a presidential nominee, a president-elect, and a sitting president of the United States. And it all goes back to November 9th, when the person who should, according to her and other people, have been sitting in the Oval Office did not. A soft coup was conducted on many, many levels. And despite all what we're discovering now, think what we would not know today if Hillary Clinton were president. We would not know about the bought and paid for dossier by the Clinton campaign, by the DNC, and partly by the FBI. And I can only say that I'm hoping that somewhere along the line, because I believe, in fact, it was a conspiracy by the FBI and the DOJ to lie to a FISA court, although FISA court and ham sandwich are kind of mutual in grand juries in the way. If I were the FISA judge, I would be so pissed that I could not see straight, because you not only submitted that affidavit once, FBI, and numerous persons had to sign off on that. You had to go back to that FISA court every 90 days, at least 3 times, to get it renewed. So you lied to that judge, not just once initially, but you lied to that judge continuously for a minimum of an additional 3 times.
Well, I'm going to say it goes further back than November 9th. It's going to go way further back, because remember also Peter Strzok and Lisa Page email exchanges occurred long before the elections. Now, if these 2 individuals were doing it within the government, how many others in how many other departments? These 2 are only a symptom of the condition. We haven't diagnosed the entire condition yet. It's a lot deeper. Now, let me take you even a couple of steps further than that.
Please.
Because you now have a liberal arm of the government acting as a deep state. This liberal arm of the government is the same very liberal arm of the government that has allowed, and here I'm going to pull the pin on you, the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE into a government to allow them to rewrite the manuals for the FBI, the CIA, the DHS, and for police departments across the nation, including my precious NYPD. You have a liberal arm of individuals that have been corrupted by those who look to destroy us from within. So here we have a group of people that have already attacked our nation several times, because 9/11 was not the first time. I was on duty in February of 93 when they hit the World Trade Center the first time.
Exactly.
They had been at us for a long period of time, and they found a partnership within our government. They found liberal individuals such as the Clintons, who have great ties, and the Bushes with great ties to Saudi Arabia, to Qatar and other areas, and Russia, and Uranium One, and you can go on. And Admiral Lyons at one point walked me through the whole relationship. It will blow your mind. This goes back way before the Obama administration. We have had an element in our government that's been looking to destroy us from within. And unless we wake up and start smelling the coffee and draining that swamp big time, we're not going anywhere. And first thing Trump should have done was fire every single person and start from scratch. He didn't do that, and he's stuck. He's stuck in the mire.
He is stuck. We got 5 more minutes before the top of the hour. I only have a couple more questions. But first I got to say, Ann Ubellis, I am glad as hell that I had you on here tonight. And I'm going to have you back because we are congruent in our thinking on any number of things, on any number of levels. Well, let me ask you this. Was Trump your go-to guy initially? Because he was not mine.
Honestly, no.
Who was your guy?
Believe it or not, it was Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz, same for me. Absolutely, same for me. And once the crowd was winnowed down, the more the attacks escalated on Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, the more insistent on pushback I became and the more my guy he became. Was that a similar situation for you, perhaps?
Being a New Yorker, and I guess with the New York attitude, I was hot and cold on Trump. One of the things that said maybe he might be the guy is when he turned around the ice skating rink at Rockefeller Center. I knew of him. I knew of the newspaper stories, and of course the newspaper was never very kind to him. Then again, to the liberal newspaper. I didn't pay much attention to him because he was a rich guy from Manhattan. But when I saw him to do certain things, and then when he also did things that never hit the newspaper, like stopping for a wedding party that had a flat tire on the side of the highway, and he had his guy help him change the tire so the wedding party can get on their way and never say a word, and where he saw someone really hurting because there was a death in the family and just said, let me help you, I'll fly you wherever you need to go, never hit the newspaper. When you hear those little stories come trickle down, I said, there's something more to the man, which made me take a step back, listen, and look a little more, and I'm not surprised. Honestly, I'm not surprised.
And I have to tell you, I have some of the best folks in chat. Kaiser in chat said, this is a quote, "Ann, you have the biggest ovaries, my friend."
Are they saying I'm fat?
Okay. I looked at it this way. I voted for Trump for 2 reasons. 1, he wasn't Hillary Clinton. 2, I believed him when he said that he was going to do something for SCOTUS. As far as I was concerned, anything else that he may have done was gravy for me. So I submit, I got a lot of gravy.
I got to say one thing, because I know you're going to go on a break real fast. I happen to have had a pastor on my show who happened to have been a Ted Cruz guy, and he said, God does not support Trump. And I said, whoa,
really?
Backpedal here.
Really?
And I said, you're a man of God. You know the Bible. How do you know that God has not placed this man here at this time? Well, he's not a righteous man. He is a sinful man. So was David.
And you're not, sir?
So was Moses. So were a great number of people in the Bible who were very sinful people that God placed where he needed them to do what he needed them to do when he needed to do it. So what makes you think? Look at Simon, Peter, Paul. Look at them. All sinful people. Simon, who became Paul. Peter, who questioned God. Get behind me, Satan. All sinful people that were placed where God needed him to be when he needed him to be. So why wouldn't Trump be that man?
Well, I'm kind of reactionary in terms of the more you push back at me, the more I'm going to push back at you. It's just my nature. And with all of the elements in the United States and across the world arrayed against him, and he still prevails, and he still... Donald John Trump trolls the shit out of the Democrats, and they still haven't figured him out. He's still the Teflon Don, because up to this point, nothing really has stuck, and I don't think it's going to. Okay, Ann Ubellis, I got to thank you for being here tonight and for staying up so damn late, because now... officially, it's midnight on the East Coast.
I'm going to turn into a witch or a bitch.
No, you won't.
Which one?
So I got to have you back.
My pleasure.
I hope that we will be able to do this again and that you will acquiesce to come back on the show. And now that we've done all the introductions and a lot of the folks who haven't heard you before, they'll know you a little bit more. So again, before we go, tell folks where you can be heard, your radio show, your website, time, and day.
Oh, good Lord. If they haven't found me in 10 years, they never will. Anyway, it's very simple. The name of the show is Southern Sense, as in common sense. We don't put up with any nonsense. Just Southern Sense, put a dash in the middle, southern-sense.com. You can catch me in the archives if you don't catch me live on Fridays from 3 to 6 p.m. New York time.
New York. And God bless you. Thank you very much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.
God bless. My pleasure.
All righty. Take care, Ann.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That was a whole lot of fun. And this is a whole lot of promo.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all the ages imaginable, thanks for listening here tonight in the SHR Media Studios, where I am BZ, otherwise known as the Bloviating Zeppelin, speaking in the SHR Media Studios. For the first hour, we had Ann Ubellis. Great interview, great radio host, and you can hear her Fridays from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. That's 3 full hours. That's like a regular terrestrial radio show, and trust me, trying to come up with 2 hours of good, clean content in one sitting can be a challenge. Coming up with 3 hours of content in one sitting, that's a challenge unique in and of itself. And the reason I say that, I got to have her back on. If you're watching on video, one of the things that radio teaches you quickly is a couple of things, especially with me. If it involves technology, well, I'll probably fuck it up sooner or later. And I have, although I've gotten much better as I'm aging or getting used to the studio. The other thing you want to make sure that you have are backups, backup phone numbers, and backup questions. Always have more questions than a guest can answer. And here's my question list. I didn't even get halfway down this list of questions for Ann. So when she comes back, I got a lot of questions for her. So, but next time, because now we know more about her and her background and whatnot, next time it'll be pure politics, pure SHR Media enjoyment from Ann Ubellis. So there's my list. Didn't get but to a fraction of it. But again, Ann, thank you very much. Ann right now is currently enjoying a scotch on the far right coast. I got to say hi to Mike in chat, Simone in chat. Hey, Ann is in chat herself. Jack in chat, the Alaskan, and Kaiser in chat. So thanks to everybody. If anybody's, if you think that I don't have a ton of stuff to talk about, well, I do. So if you folks, and if you're watching the show and you're seeing the video, you can see at the bottom of the screen, the phone number is up there. So if you folks are interested in calling, the number is 209-284-3210. For those of you who just tuned in, it's 209-284-3210. For those of you who are watching directly from the planet Zephron, put a 1 in front of it, and then 209-284-3210. We already have somebody on the phone. Kaiser, go ahead, sir. How are you this evening?
I am outstanding, and Ann and you make an awesome team. I think the BZ and Ann show would be an awesome addition to SHR also. But
well, wait a minute. No, hold on right
point.
There. She's on SHR. She's already on SHR.
No, I mean you two combined. That would be an awesome, fun time.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
She's packing ovaries, and your balls clank when you walk.
Well, do her ovaries clank?
I don't know. They probably do. But no, my point was we got into a good part of the chat. I was agreeing with her on a lot of things. She said it started in the 1950s, the Muslim Brotherhoods. First, I want to run down a couple of things. It actually started with the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, who gave edification to the Albanians and the other people from the places the Germans held, and they were foreign soldiers, a foreign legion during the Second World War, and they were also the most decorated legions of the Nazi war machine.
Okay.
Muslim Brotherhood goes back to that era because that's where it actually started. And she was right about the 50s. That's where they got some prominence. They were persecuted after that. When Begin and Sadat had their talks, the Muslim Brotherhood and the Blind Sheik, remember that, and from New York, he was the first mastermind of the terrorist bombing in the 90s. He was incarcerated because he was involved in the assassination of Anwar Sadat after him and Menachem Begin signed the peace accords in Egypt. So this goes way back. But here's where I can sort of hyper jump it into the Gulf War. The first actual attack on Americans, and this is historical fact, I was there, Tariq 121. That just means Highway 121 in Arabic. And it was in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. 5 Marines were hit by Makarov fire in an unarmored Hummer, because back then they were not armored like you think they were.
That's correct.
Unless they were. And I'm the military policeman that rolled up to take the report. And the people who did it, there was 3 of them, were beheaded that Saturday. So justice was very swift on them. And they were also Al-Qaeda. That's when the list first came on the grid after we had used, and people always forget this, we had used Al-Qaeda, meaning the list, we had used them to fight the Soviets. And they had turned it around. That's when Osama bin Laden could never return to his home country. This is a fact. This is not me inventing things.
Well, information also indicates recently that the son of Osama bin Laden may have recently been killed as well.
Yeah, I'm not getting into certain things that are going on. But anyways, you know, I got back from Afghanistan about, what, how many months ago now?
Yeah, 6, 7, 8, right around in there.
Yeah. I haven't left the game completely, and I'm about to get back into it. But that's not my point. My point is bigger. You guys were hitting on all cylinders the entire show. What happened in New York, you remember when I went over there, and I'm not getting into all the specifics. This is just me and you offline. You know what I've been doing since 9/11. And
you've been busy.
I've been very busy on a lot of fronts, and that's just what I do. My point is that she was very correct. It didn't only infect the FBI. It also infected all the intel agencies. And if you disbelieve me, Brennan, during the Gulf War, was head of station for the CIA in Jeddah. Jeddah, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, head of CIA. He was station chief. And he converted to Islam. He was also a communist. That's where the merger happened. And there's a lot to the Comey thing. Comey is not going to be indicted on the BS lying charge because they're afraid a liberal judge, will let him go like they did with Papadopoulos. But this started with Carter Page. They used the 3-hop rule. They bounced to other people. They gave them carte blanche. It's like 7 degrees from Kevin Bacon, except only 3 degrees. I mean, if we want to go there, I remember there was a movie that Steve Martin was in with Kevin Bacon, and guess what? I bodyguarded Steve Martin during the Gulf War, so I'm, 1 or 2 degrees away from him if you go by that BS line. This is so much BS that, and the fraud that was perpetrated on the FISA court, and you were right, they are very angry. They haven't spoken yet. So there's charges of that. Plus there's charges, just like you said, conspiracy, but it's conspiracy of treason. So they'll stack charges. You know how it works in the federal court system. They're going to stack these charges on him. They just declined to do it right now. Comey just keeps shooting his mouth off. It's only screwing him up. He needs to be quiet. He's not going to do that. His ego will not let him. He's not going to shut his mouth. And he's hanging himself with every word.
Well, it was also said that the assistant FBI director, people were saying that if it goes through, that he may roll himself. If you remember, he was kicked off the FBI as a result of Michael Horowitz's IG report. That was recommended to him. Yep. And the bulk of the FBI at the upper nether regions on the 7th floor, a lot of those folks were removed or stepped down or were forced to resign. Yeah. I wish I could tell you that I had an assload of confidence that Christopher Wray is not moving in the steps of James Comey. I cannot say with absolute assuredness that he isn't walking in the steps of James Comey, because he's made some various moves that, in my opinion, are obstructionist. And if there's one thing that the FBI needs right now, is a little bit more transparency and a little bit more truth. Yes, there are certain reasons and things that you cannot make transparent, but they have always featured themselves as the premier law enforcement agency of the United States. And now, in many instances, I consider them to be lower than whale shit.
No, I agree with you, and here's the reason why. With Ray, here's the comment that got me. And he was asked by Ted Cruz, and honestly, before Trump, but I knew when Trump walked down the escalator who I was going to support. I'm going to be very honest and frank. Uh-huh. But I still liked Cruz until Cruz said, well, vote for every Republican down the ticket. And I was like, why wouldn't you support the guy who's the nominee? It was just a thing, but now Cruz is on board, whatever. He's on the Trump train. But my major issue was one thing, and it really held out with Ray. He was asked by Senator Cruz, who has identified Antifa, and we've all identified Antifa, as a major terrorist organization.
They are
it doesn't matter.
They're a major terrorist domestic group.
Yes, because they use force to instill their ideas. And he's like, well, it's the right wing, it's the Nazis, it's this, it's that.
Oh, bullshit.
It's like bullshit. They're not out there doing this. The media is covering up for them, and Ray is too. Because remember what happened at Charlottesville? They fucking went after everybody that was ever there. Everybody got a visit. Whatever. They weren't wearing masks. Antifa was. Here's my point going from this. My point, at least those people are out there. If they're, and most of them, you know my theory on that and my thoughts, they're internet trolls that just used memes to try to evoke a response from normies, from people who are normal people. Now, here's my second part to this. When Ray said that, he deflected off Antifa, which is a communist organization. There was a time under Brennan where this marriage has happened. It's now Islam and the communists, and Islam looks at the communists as the weak soy boys that they can beat up and they can get rid of once they get control. It's all about percentages. Once Islam has a firm stepping stone, and if you disbelieve me, go to the mosque in Cordoba, Spain. That is the furthest Islam ever invaded during their crusades. They started these crusades, not us.
Correct.
Europe went back at them into Israel, Jerusalem, now Israel, all these places to get the holy sites back. And you look at what the poor Jews, when they go to these sites, the Wailing Wall and stuff, they get rocks thrown at them. Rockets are raining down on them all the time. This is systematic. And yet nobody, even in the West and even Israel, I blame Israel too. If there was a strong leader in Israel, I think, okay, I guess I better meter this back a little bit. I do respect Israel's president, who they have now,
Netanyahu,
for being very protected. Yeah, Netanyahu and his brother who died. Remember?
Yeah, during Entebbe.
There
exactly.
was a Netanyahu there during the raid on Entebbe. There's a lot to it. I don't want to get into the weeds and deep because, you know, I get autistic sometimes, and sometimes I just ruin things by doing this, and I really hate that about myself. But the bigger thing to me is that you're seeing something happen in America that is going to happen. Ray, I think, is going to bury himself. And I do mean this, because the Congress is going to be replaced, I guarantee you. They did no favor to themselves with these hearings. And the left wing, Trump did the best thing, identifying all the communists in the Democratic Party, the Democratic Socialists now. He's put that moniker on them, and they will not be able to shake it because they have to do it, just like with rats, infestation of rats. Those rats are actual rats. He's not talking, and the Democrats and PBS even did an article on it.
I have tons of stories. I'm going to run out of time, I know that. But but I have tons of stories about exactly, you're correct about that. And all of that stuff for Elijah Cummings just as one individual. All of this stuff is becoming cyclical, and it's coming back to bite him, in just one instance, on the ass. I was talking earlier about a former assistant director, Andy McCabe, was making mouth music to the effect that if I'm actually going through with a prosecution, I'm potentially going to start naming names. I guarantee you one thing, ladies and gentlemen. Let one person break and the floodgates will go down. But everyone else is waiting for that one significant individual to roll. But I submit, when one significant individual rolls, you're going to see a tsunami.
It's already happened with several people. Price Step, it's happened with Strzok, Page. There's some rolling happening. And I see something from Ann. She asked earlier, ask me about the CIA office prayer rug that Brennan had.
Right.
That's a fact. I was a Marine. I did actually see that at the embassy. So, anyways, it's all BS. Whatever. Who cares? But the point is, there's too much going on, and Brennan is going to be the key to tying it. But let me rephrase this. Him and the wife, Samantha Powers, of another Democrat through State Department. Those two will be the key to tie it all the way back to, guess where, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Well, the first question I have is,
fact.
Who the hell would want to give Samantha Power in a UN position the power to unmask individuals? There's only one reason.
Well, it's because of plausible deniability. They were hoping nobody was going to tie all these links together. You know, everybody thinks we're like conspiracy theory guys with needles and maps and pictures, and we're stringing strings between them. No, you don't have to with this. It's open and shut.
A lot of that stuff is out on the internet, for God's sake.
What's that?
A lot of the stuff is out on the internet, for God's sake. You can find it.
Saying.
You can find it if you just want to go look for it.
And guess what? The liberal left has made sure that the liberal left is now the liberal lazy, and they don't care. It's become groupthink. In all honesty, it has become tribalism. Tim Pool, he's a lefty. So is Dave Rubin. Guess what? They're fair lefties. They will run down the left when they need run down. But the left push back. They say Tim Pool, who knows, Tim Pool's half Korean, half white, whatever, and they say he's a Nazi. And they also say that about a homosexual Jew by the name of Dave Rubin, who's married to a man.
Well, then they also say that about a gay Vietnamese, Andy No.
Exactly. This is nonsense. And as soon as we know, and I think the majority, all you got to look at is everybody's looking at the lamestream media. We're all seeing that they're full of shit. And they have, I never thought I'd say this, brother, and I mean this. I never thought I would see the lamestream media have a lower approval rating than fucking Congress.
However, I should care to point out what I consider to be the obvious. They fucking worked long and hard to get there. It wasn't by ignorance. It was completely purposeful. And now, like the people who kicked the cops out of East Pittsburgh are now bemoaning the fact that they are hemorrhaging advertisers and readers. Oh, woe is us.
Exactly, brother, exactly. I better let you go so other people can call in. She's packing heavyweight ovaries that may clank when she walks, but there's some meat in between that would deafen that. But your balls definitely clink when you walk, brother.
Well, thank you kindly.
And we all hear it. So, and we're all brothers. So, much love, brother.
Thank you most kindly. Appreciate it, sir.
God bless, be well.
Thank you, sir. God bless you too, Kaiser. And I think we've got another individual on the line. Who are you, unknown caller? I know who you are, though. Are you there?
I am here now. This is Mike. Easy.
You had it on hold. You went to go get a cherry soda and a double dog across the street in the market, didn't you? While Kaiser was talking. I know it. See, I knew that. What's up, sir?
And just like I have the same problem that your co-host on Wednesday night has. I have a big proboscis.
Well, look at it this way. Perhaps it makes you much sleeker in a wind than regular individuals.
Yeah. And here's the thing, though. What you're saying, what Kaiser is saying, and what you're saying is the absolute truth. Somebody's going to roll, and when whoever it is rolls, and look, Andy McCabe, all these people. Now, you can make the argument that Trump made a mistake in not cleaning house when he first got there. You know.
Now, you always make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. There's only one perfect political candidate that I know of, and that's me. And I'm not running.
Thank you. But yeah, that's the thing. These guys, these people, just and Hillary Clinton. We've said it all about her before. And look, that commercial you run with the with the other talk show host saying Hillary Clinton will show up in your room in her house coat.
Right. Right.
That's scary.
Yeah.
You know.
That's kind of. Yeah, that's enough to shake you. Mike, I got to take a break, but I'm going to offer you this. After the break, do you want to come back or do you got to go away?
No, I'll stay.
Okay. We're going to take a break, folks. Ann Ubellis is still in the chat room. And again, Ann, thank you for staying up so late. I'm hoping that you are sufficiently lubricated now with scotch. And I also hope that it's a really good scotch. And on that note, we'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic, concealed carry, and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
No surrender, ever.
because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, oh my God, it's the final 25. The final 25 minutes of the show. The first hour with Ann Ubellis went by. Boom! Quick like a bunny. The third half hour went by. Boom! Quick like a bunny. And now it's like this is the fastest 2 hours in radio. Where does it go? Where does it go? Mike on the phone, where does it go? Those 2 hours, where do they go? Just one question. Where? Go ahead. Where? Where?
When you have so much fun doing what you're doing, that's what happens.
I do have fun. I wait for this all week because I have fun.
You're the rotund one that loves his fun,
I don't know if I could make a song out of that, but I could probably incorporate that somehow, somewhere. What else you got, Mike? What's up?
Yeah, these Democrats. I watched a little bit of both of these debates on Tuesday and Wednesday, and look, these Democrats are cruising for at least a 30 to 35 state beating in November of next year. That's how bad it's going to be. Yeah, one of these nut jobs are going to say, "Oh, but I won the popular vote." Well, yeah, because of New York and California, But
you can't tell me, Mike, and I've been called a tinfoil hat wearer for saying this. We know that clearly Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, won the Electoral College. And it's common knowledge, common wisdom, just ask anyone, that Hillary Clinton actually won the popular vote by 2 million votes, not 20 votes, 2 million votes. What I submit is this: that too is inaccurate. I submit that there were at least 2 million illegal votes all across the fruited plain, and taken in totality through all the various illegals, people that were re-registered, people that voted that were dead. I submit that, in my opinion, that made up basically the balance, the difference of the people that voted for Hillary Clinton. Let me ask you this one final question, because I think we got somebody else calling in. Let me ask you this final question, Mike. What the hell happens under this scenario? Because we know what happened in November, late November, when Trump was elected for the first time in 2016. Mike, what the hell happens when President Trump is reelected, coupled with the House being overtaken again by the Republicans? What's going to happen in that scenario? What do you envision?
I envision that everything goes away. And I envision that some of these people may, at that point, flip, because there are going to be some subpoenas served out by the House, and we know the Senate's going to do some stuff as well. But there are going to be some subpoenas served out by the House, and if those guys decide not to show up, well, hell's bells,
What I would get to is I think there's a greater chance day by day and week by week, unless for some weird ass reason the economy takes a tank or it goes in the dumper. Week by week, I believe that those things will occur, that you will have a second term for Trump and the House will go back. It may be a micro thin margin, but I suspect that the House will go back to the Republicans again. What I submit further is that if we thought we saw violence in 2016 rolling over to 2017 and also to Inauguration Day and beyond, because remember, in those areas, in those times, in those portals, there was an assload of violence on the part of leftists all across the United States. And I think if that happens, you're going to see the violence, especially with the association of Antifa, which are much more cohesive now than they were then. You're going to see a lot of stupid shit kick off.
If the Democrats don't watch themselves, they're headed to 1968 all over again. Remember the riot outside the Democratic Convention?
1968, because I lived through it, was a cluster for the United States.
Right. But I think it culminated in that convention when there was that riot, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think that's where the Democrats are headed. And look, if what I think is going to happen happens, and he not only wins, but he has coattails and the House flips, because remember, there's a great number of Republican-leaning districts that got won by Democrats, in 2018. So just think about that. If those districts swing back to Republicans, then it might not be a razor-thin margin. It might be a big, huge margin.
That could be. 2020 remains to be seen. All I can say to the Democrats, because I'm sure there are a ton of them listening to me right now. All I can say to the Democrats is, folks, keep it up. Please, keep it up. Keep on your path right now. Be very plain, be very clear that most people, as far as you're concerned, are insufficiently left for the left. So stay hard aport, harder aport, and for those of you who just tuned in, even harder aport. Okay? Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, sir.
All right.
Okay. I think we got another call. Who is this, pray tell?
Your best buddy.
Which best buddy? I have about two.
Your famous female from South Carolina.
Ah, welcome back. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside.
Yeah, my scotch hasn't ended.
Yes. Okay, stop right there. I got to ask you, what is it? What are you drinking? Which one?
I'm not going to tell.
McAllen, right?
No.
Damn it. Okay. Would it please you to no end if I were to tell you, as I am wont to do at the end of every show, that I will be, I have what I call my KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I consort at the end of the show. Would it shock you, Ann Ubellis, for me to tell you that I myself will be imbibing in a clear liquid which consists of essentially potato water about a half hour at the end of this show?
Potato water?
Yes, I am a fan of potato water.
You Bolshevik.
Well, actually, it's Kettle One potato water. Although I have been known to drink Ruski potato water. Ruski. Moose and squirrel. You know moose and squirrel.
Oh, God. I can tell you stories about Polish guys getting absolutely blown off their butts because they weren't accustomed to American vodkas. Oh, good Lord.
American vodkas?
They're poisonous.
I don't think...
They were actually poisonous to them because they were not accustomed to our American liquor.
I don't think I've ever had a. I couldn't even tell you. Do we make somewhere? Somebody's got to make an American vodka.
I'm telling you what we market here, and what they were selling over in Russia and Poland.
Oh, under the same label, perhaps.
It was poisonous. They drank our stuff and they got really sick on it.
Oh, okay. All right. Poor bastards. I feel sorry for them.
And you got me live.
I do.
Oh, you SOB.
Folks, while you're here, I'm going to, let me see if I can find it right now. That's not it. Here we go. I'm going to play an audio cut. And folks, the challenge to you is to tell me who this person is. I will give you a few clues. The initial of the first name of this person is R. And I will tell you that this is a cut from 1958. Now, knowing that, tell me in 1958 what has changed between then and now. That is to say, could that person in 1958 be saying the same thing now and be every bit as applicable? So put on your thinking caps, folks. Who is
Part
this?
of that plan, of course, is to induce the gradual surrender of American sovereignty, piece by piece and step by step, to various international organizations, of which the United Nations is the outstanding but far from the only example. Now, here are the aims for the United States. 1, greatly expanded government spending for every conceivable means of getting rid of ever larger sums of American money as wastefully as possible. 2, higher and then much higher taxes. 3, an increasingly unbalanced budget despite the higher taxes. 4, wild inflation of our currency. 5, government controls of prices, wages, and materials, supposedly to combat inflation. 6, greatly increased socialistic controls over every operation of our economy and every activity of our daily lives. This is to be accompanied, naturally and automatically, by a correspondingly huge increase in the size of our bureaucracy and in both the cost and reach of our domestic government. 7, far more centralization of power in Washington and the practical elimination of our state lines. There is a many-faceted drive at work to have our state lines eventually mean no more within the nation than our county lines do now within the states. 8, the steady advance of federal aid to and control over our educational system, leading to complete federalization of our public education. 9, a constant hammering into the American consciousness of the horror of modern warfare, the beauties and the absolute necessity of peace. Peace always on communist terms, of course. And 10, the consequent willingness of the American people to allow the steps of appeasement by our government which amount to a piecemeal surrender of the rest of the free world.
So, folks, who do you think that was? It may surprise you, it may not surprise you. Any thoughts, any guesses?
I see the face, I can't think of the name, and I've got a major mental block. It's the gray hair on my head. Oh, my God. I can see the face. And actually, I can see the clip in my mind, and there's a couple of people in the chat room say they know the clip. It's killing me.
Now, Kaiser thinks it's Rockefeller. That's not that
It's
far
Irish
away,
accent.
but no, it is not Rockefeller.
No. Rockefeller definitely had a New York accent.
Oh,
or
yeah.
dialect, I should say. Not an accent, dialect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we got to be careful with that. Okay, folks, here it is. Now, I'm going to give you the name, but Do you folks know who this individual is? From 1958, it's Robert Welch, W-E-L-C-H.
Yes.
Who was
Yes.
Robert Welch?
I was born that year. I gave my age up. Good Lord. I did that. I did the bad thing.
Yeah, I know. Don't do that. Now, I don't remember it. Whatever it is you said, I don't remember.
I mean, my dad was someone that read the New York Times all the time, and there were articles in there with him in it, and he would always talk to me about the stuff. So I was aware of his name at the time, and I may have been 5 or 6 years old, but my dad would also sit down at the table because he was going to college at the time, doing mathematics and giving me problems to solve, and I was not even yet in kindergarten doing mathematics. So I had an unusual childhood.
Nah, but I'll tell you what. Listen, there's a lot to be said for the childhoods. I guess that's a word that you and I both had. I consider myself and you to have seen the best of this country and to have experienced this country at a time where so few have had. I consider it an honor and a privilege to have grown up when I did in this country. It was and is, it's still a fabulous nation, don't get me wrong, but it's an entirely different nation than then.
I actually, I'm going to differ you on this one because I've got hope. I really do have hope because I see a youth coming up also at the same time. We also see liberalism and its grip on our society, but I also see a counter-revolution against it at the same time because somewhere in the American spirit of our people, of our youth, it exists because kids are coming up, and a lot of them are now starting to come through the schools we set for them, whether they are not Christian conservative or they are charter schools. They're coming up with a different learning outside of the public school. We've got a new set of youth coming up, not the kids of the 80s and 90s. We've got a new set of kids coming up. We grew up with a set of youth, but yet our parents grieved for us because we didn't have the things they had. And their parents had the same idea. And we can go generation back to the start of man. And at every generation of parents will go, well, they didn't understand. And every generation will go forward. And yet we've got to think not just what we have in the past, take it into the future. Teach the kids our past.
You know who I think is gone and done, and really I don't have any use for, are millennials. And you make an interesting point. The people that I think that could possibly turn this around, and yes, I am hopeful, pissed off, but hopeful. And a lot of people are going to say, BZ, I don't think I've heard this from you yet. And I would respond, yeah, I do hold a little bit of hope for Gen Z. I see a little bit of change.
Actually, you know what? I talk to millennials, and millennials are turning conservative because they're now the ones that are starting to pay the taxes. They're now the ones that are starting to trying to open a business and finding they can't. The millennials are now the ones finding the stepping stones they placed in front of us, going, oops. So the millennials are now the ones, when I start, and I tell people this all the time, and I hope you do, all politics are local. They start on the local level, and they go up all the way up.
Are they
and we've
ever?
got kids here now going, I can't open up a local business. And said, well, wait a minute. Didn't you help support this? Weren't you the one that said we need the plastic bag ban and we can't use plastic straws? Now you want to open up a restaurant and you can't do it because you're finding these hindrances? And they're going, oh, crap.
There are kids that can't open up a lemonade stand in various cities all across the United States.
Oh, yes.
Comma.
Yes.
How stupid
and you know what?
is
the
that?
The counterattack is happening now because now you see more and more articles about kids out there opening up the lemonade stand to help firefighters or someone who passed away. And you know what? The county ordinances are not being enforced because the backlash against them is so intense that the people watching those shows are going, what are you friggin' idiots? America is waking up.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing in these Democratic debates, America is waking up. Watch out what happens 2020. I'm looking at the clock. You've got a few minutes left, and you know what? I've had a blast. I'm stealing your show. I'm out of here.
You're 2 hour in, and if you hang up, that's okay. If you stay on the line, that's okay too. I want to play something for you. I want to play something for Ann. It doesn't have anything to do with
politics. Are you serenading me?
No, but when I play this. When I play this for you, this I guarantee you, this and people my age and younger, when you hear this, this is going to bring back memories, and it makes me laugh, and it makes me cry, and it makes me happy to hear this, if I can get this to play.
Sam, that's a real raucous cowboy.
This is...
Say Yosemite Sam. That's a real raucous cowboy.
Who was that?
Oh my God, Hanna-Barbera.
Yep, Mel Blanc.
Yes, Mel Blanc. Yes, thank you, Hanna-Barbera. Showing my age.
What?
But then again, I watched Red Skelton TV show and Lucille Ball and all the others.
Well, actually, instead of being here for an hour, you were here for 2 hours. However, the second hour was fueled courtesy of Scotch. So, to the maker of Scotch that brought Ann here for the second hour, to that manufacturer, I say, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
God bless. Good night.
Good night. Have a great sleep. I think you're going to have a great sleep myself. That's just me.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Okay. Now, I didn't, again, I didn't get to but a fraction of the cuts and the great politics and all the stuff that I wanted to. So instead of trying to go for another story or anything like that, you guys have been so good. You deserve to get let out of class early. So, thanks for being here tonight, and you're all class dismissed.
Monsieur has been locked.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show right here on the SHR Media Network. You want to contact me? You'll find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP, and also on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and also by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. Oh, and also I forgot, by Pratt & Whitney Engines. Thrust. You can trust.
To the folks that I know.
Tiaras are, as per normal, by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team contingent, with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour.
This song.
Thanks to Ann Ubellis for the first and second hour. Thanks to you for being in chat. Thanks for listening live. Thanks for listening in podcast. I really appreciate each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy day to be here tonight and every night. So God bless, take care, have a great weekend. I forgot to say be safe.
Quiet down now and get some sleep.
Quiet down now.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama.
Good night, Mama.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy.
Good night,
Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night,
Jim Bob.
Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep.
What?
What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Jesus, Jim Bob.
Good night and good luck.